Wonderful. Okay. Great, everybody. Thank you for being here tonight. We've got a few people on the phone here with us this evening. This is our first mindful resilience training webinar, and we're really stoked to have this opportunity and really happy that you took the time out of your busy lives. It's such a busy time of year. I know for me, I certainly am running all over the place all the time here, and was really looking forward to a chance to kind of calm down a little bit, do a little bit of reconnecting and grounding. With the election coming up, things do feel quite a lot, lots of different pieces of information, lots of, being pulled in different directions. And it's really nice to have opportunities and community to engage with in this type of way. So thank you so much for taking the time and for being here. I think most of everybody I've met here on this call. I'm Carly. At a time I had worked for Sierra Club, but I'm just volunteering with them now. Over the summer, I was working as I was covering for Galen Armstrong, who works as an outreach coordinator for Sierra Club. And I was in charge of meeting volunteers and working on the old growth forest campaign, pulling volunteers, matching them up with interests, getting them out to events, that sort of thing, which is super fun. I'm very passionate about environmental activism. And then I happened to meet this wonderful woman named Cece, and she really had the same sort of passion, wanted to help protect the beautiful BC landscape which we live in. And her and I met a couple of times, and as we met, we started to realize we had more in common than just a shared passion for the environment. It was soon discovered we both had very much so an interest and a passion for mindfulness, for meditation, self-compassion. And we thought, put our brains together a little bit, we thought, what a better way perhaps, or what a cool way, what a cool thing it could be if we could match up tenets of mindfulness, self-compassion, meditation theory that her and I both were very passionate and interested in, with the type of environmental work that we also found ourselves matched up in. And I thought right away, this is super cool. As working as the volunteer outreach coordinator, I was looking for something that we could do to give back to volunteers, to support them in the work that sometimes can be a little bit challenging, engaging with this type of tough subject matter. It can take a toll on volunteers and in people in general. So we came up with this idea, we pitched it to Sierra Club, and this is kind of our first shot at trying to offer something along the lines of a mindful practice with self-compassion values for volunteers. And so very happy to have this chance. A couple of housekeeping items to get out before we get started. You'll see at the bottom here, if you've never used Zoom, it's pretty intuitive to figure out, but there's an option to chat. So feel free to pop any questions that you need in the chat box, and we will be able to get to those either as they come through or at the end. If you're also able to put your name and your email in that chat box, that would be wonderful, so that we can keep track and send links to people who would be interested in receiving them. And then also just a disclaimer that this webinar is being recorded, so that if you are interested in offering feedback, which we would be very happy if you did, just to be aware that the answers that you give, they won't be super sensitive or anything, but they might be viewed by others who access this recording. And I believe that will be all of the housekeeping items. There will be a short survey at the end of this webinar if you'd be willing to take it, just to help us grow and understand what we can improve on for next time. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Cece, who is going to be our presenter for this evening and is going to guide us through what we're going to learn. So yeah, take it away, Cece, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Carly. And hi to people on the call now, and hello to people watching later on the recording. First, inner resilience training Zoom session. So exciting stuff. Nice to virtually meet you all, and I hope that I'm going to meet you in person sometime soon down at the office, Sierra Club office, where I'll be in the following couple of weeks giving workshops there as well. I am, my name's Cece, as Carly said. I'm a counsellor and a mindfulness trainer here in Victoria. And I'm also, again, Carly mentioned, I'm really passionate about environmental activism myself. And that's how I met Carly and Galen. And I, this Zoom and subsequent sessions that we do is really a result of me wanting to give something to you guys, to you volunteers, fellow volunteers, something that comes from my own experience and my own background and my own practice as well, and something I hope that's going to be of value to you during these volunteer phone sessions, but also something in your daily life that you can take away and use and useful for you. So this is the practices I'm going to be talking about and offering to you on this call are from a training course called Mindful Self-Compassion. It's an 8-week training course which we run here in Victoria. And I want to say a fair amount more about that, but what we thought is we'd give you a little video to watch. It's just 3 or 4 minutes long, and it's an introduction to Mindful Self-Compassion. So we're going to show you that now and take it from there. Thanks, Carly.
Hi, Kaz. Hi, Shelley. As you know, we are producing a course called The Power of Self-Compassion. So we're just talking to people today about how they treat themselves. Do you have a critical voice? And if so, what do you find it saying to you?
I definitely have a critical voice. I think everybody does. And I think they all start from when you're a kid. So, I think all the things that my parents said, I hear, but it's normally about not doing a good job.
It's constantly stopping me as I try to complete thoughts or try to make steps forward.
It's a voice that always tells me that I'm not enough, or that I need to do better, or that there's something about me that I have to change.
When you fail or make a mistake, what types of things run through your mind?
I'm not worthy. Everybody's going to see my mistake. Nobody else makes mistakes like I do.
You're stupid. I can't believe you forgot something easy. This was basic. Why are you having so much trouble doing something so simple?
People don't want me around, that I'm uninteresting, boring, and or just too weird for people's company.
It says that I should have done better, and sometimes it says mean words about myself.
It's probably the loudest thing that's usually coming through my head before anything else, is at least ringing that failure over and over again.
And let me give you a scenario where a friend of yours comes to you, has made a mistake, and what would you say to that friend?
Well, the first thing I would tell them that it's okay. You don't need to feel all the weight of this.
Most likely you're holding on to this more tightly than anybody else.
This in no way, reflects your character or reflects your ability to do something. Definitely a lot kinder to my friends than I am to myself.
How do you think you would change if you used that same voice that you use towards your friends on yourself during those moments of failure and mistakes?
I think it would be, incredible, because you're not going to talk to your friends the way that you talk to yourself sometimes. And I think that if you're constantly kind of reassuring yourself and letting yourself know that you are enough, then your thought process will change.
When you treat yourself like you do somebody else, you start feeling better, I think, right away, and you keep it in context much more instead of letting things be blown out of proportion.
I think I would have a lot less anxiety in my day-to-day. I think there would be kind of a weight lifted.
It would definitely make me feel better and happier, because when I usually say, when that voice that says mean stuff in my head, I'm not really happy and sad.
How could the world look differently if we were more compassionate towards ourselves?
I think the world would work better. I think through compassion and self-compassion, we all would just recognize that we're all human.
As a society, we could learn to love one another and show that love on a regular basis. I think that this world would be perfect.
There's a saying that if you love yourself, then you can love others. Well, sometimes I believe it goes in the reverse, and that if you can show that compassion that you show to others and bring it into yourself, I think that's where true growth can happen.
I think it would be magical. I mean, that's really the only word for it, magical, to be able to reflect on ourselves from a place of love rather than criticism.
So, I wonder if you watching that now, if anyone can relate to what these people are saying about the inner critic. I wonder if that's a yes for most people. And mindful self-compassion, really, this 8-week training is all about offering resources and practices which allows us to become the person towards ourselves when we're struggling that we are very naturally, very normally, towards a good friend, towards someone we really care about. And most often there's a difference between the two. As most people say, yeah, we're harder on ourselves. We expect a lot from ourselves, but we're not so kind. So this training has been designed by two doctors, Kristen Neff and Chris Germer, and they have done a lot of research, extensive research on the results, on people who are more self-compassionate. And we're going to send you a link. There's going to be a link available to that research. And really it's saying that people who practice this are less stressed, they feel happier, they're more self-motivated, they're more able to actually make mistakes and carry on, feeling good about themselves. And it's a real help in relationships as well. And I definitely have feedback from our courses about that in particular. So how does it help resilience then? That's the question really, because that's what we're talking about here. And compassion is, can I just ask if anyone's got experience here in mindfulness, actually? I know you have, Carly.
Yeah.
Yep. Thanks. Okay. So you've had some practice of mindfulness. That's great. Just so I know. So you know, compassion is a real central tenet, really, of Buddhist philosophy, and in fact, it's sort of integral to mindfulness itself. But what they've done with MSC, as I'll call it, mindful self-compassion, is they've brought this kindness, this self-compassion to the forefront. They've made it explicit, because we do struggle so much with self-criticism in today's society. And it's not just Western societies, it seems to be worldwide. It's a worldwide phenomenon. So the idea is to have that compassion for ourselves that we have for other people. And I just really ask you now to sort of go back yourself to what was going on in the videos, where people are being asked, how do you act? How are you when a friend or someone really dear to you is struggling? Or, even if it's a stranger you meet on the street and they're having a very bad time. Yeah, they're down on themselves, they failed in some way, they're feeling not good enough, they're beating themselves up. Just bring into mind for a moment how you are, how you speak, how you might comfort them physically, what you say, how you say it. Yeah, generally how you are around them, towards them. And then putting yourself there, you failed, you've not done so well in some situation, you're being down on yourself, you're not feeling good enough. Just comparing what goes on in how you relate to yourself in that scenario. And just, I'm guessing there's a difference. Yeah, there's usually quite a big difference between how we treat ourselves when we're down. We tend to judge. We tend to say, come on, you should pull yourself together. I should do better. Yeah, I'm not worthy, etc., etc. Yeah. So we practice in mindful self-compassion, and we use 3 elements. And these elements are kindness and mindfulness and something called common humanity. And I'll just explain a little bit about each of these and how they relate to resilience, really, resilience building. And the first one is mindfulness. And we practice mindfulness in this sense to overcome a sense of over-identification. So with mindfulness, as you'll know, if you those who've practiced, we become an observer of our thoughts, of our feelings, of our inner world, our inner sensations, and we give ourselves a bit of space to just observe rather than to be caught up in it all, rather than to be believing in what we're thinking. We can see it, we can name it, we can, okay, that's what's going on right now. We can get a bit of a distance between ourselves and what's happening. And in a good way and a bad way, I mean, in a good way and in good experiences and in negative experiences as well. In good experiences, we tend to rush on past them and we don't actually take them in, and we'll talk more about that later. But with more negative experiences, we tend, and this is a human nature, that we want to get away from anything that we feel is painful. So we tend to sort of avoid difficult feelings and get busy or get eating or get, this or that, rushing around and not processing the feelings. So mindfulness allows us to sit with them, and it allows these feelings to come up and just process on, just move on by, so that they're not acting inside, they're not stored up inside us and causing tension to build. And then all of a sudden we're feeling low, or we're feeling down on ourselves, unmotivated, etc. And we wonder where that's come from. So it helps us experience our feelings, helps us process them. And in terms of resilience, the importance of this is that, this is about paying attention to ourselves as the number one factor in taking good care of ourselves and being our best support is that we have to notice when we're struggling. If your friend is struggling, you're there for them because you know that they're having a bad time. You've seen it. So again, with mindfulness, we practice checking in and asking ourselves, how are we feeling right now? How am I feeling? What's going on? What's going through my head right now that I'm feeling so upset or so caught? So the next thing is kindness, is self-kindness. And again, bringing to mind how you would treat someone you really care about who's struggling. It's that we practice. Non-judgment. So not judging ourselves for struggling. Speaking to ourselves in a kind way, a kind voice makes a big difference. Yeah, we can even, again, we'll talk about this more another time, but offer ourselves sort of this supportive touch, this, hugging ourselves almost, has a big impact on how we feel. And giving ourselves kind motivational words, just as you would have done towards a friend. So that's self-kindness. It's something we do all the time, but just maybe not towards ourselves. And the other thing with self-kindness is it's always coming back to this asking, what is it I need right now? We learn to say that a lot. What do I need right now in this moment? Do I need just a hug? Do I need something just gentle and nurturing and accepting and warm? Or actually, do I need something more? We talk about the yin and yang of kindness. Do I need something more fierce? Like, do I need to actually be protecting myself right now? Do I need to put some boundaries in place? Or do I need to self-motivate in some way or change something in my life? And so this is the other side. This is a different way of giving ourselves what we need. And it's in a sort of much more practical way, perhaps. so making changes. Maybe I need to give up something. Maybe I need to do more of something. And we do that because we really care, because we want the best for ourselves, rather than motivating ourselves by, I'm not good enough as I am. I need to improve, or I need to fix myself. There's a very big difference in how we motivate ourselves there. So in terms of resilience, this is about being a supporting person for ourselves, really supporting ourselves, and using non-judgment as a way to do that to start with. And then there's the common humanity aspect of mindful self-compassion. And this is really where self-kindness is sort of counteracting any judgment. Thinking about common humanity is a way that we help ourselves from isolating. So when we're struggling, when we're up against stress or difficulty, we can tend to isolate ourselves. That's what we do. I'm hurting, I'm not feeling good enough, I'm feeling inadequate, I'm going to take myself off on my own, it's all about me, I'm the problem. And with this idea, we think about what it means just to be human. Yeah, to be human means that we're struggling. That is the nature of life. None of us gets away with not suffering losses, not suffering difficulties, not having challenges, not thinking that life is just not the way we want it to be. That's just life. And all of us, we're all struggling in the same ways, all of humanity. So we bring this into the practice so that we don't take it all so personally. We remember that, you know, I may feel something, I may feel a difficult emotion right now, but there are a billion people out there in the world probably sharing it. So it's a way to, in terms of resilience, in a resilience training, it's a way to be connected, to feel connected as we truly are with everyone else. And not that I feel bad, that means I am bad. Not that way of thinking, but a sort of, yeah, this is part of life. This is normal and natural. Yeah. Okay. Any questions at this time? Because I've said quite a bit already. No. Okay, I'll carry on. So resilience, what is it? It's really the ability, isn't it, to stand up in front of challenge, to face challenge, and to move through difficult times and remain positive, remain motivated, remain energetic, yeah, remain effective. I think that's probably a good description of it. And let's face it, you know, with environmental protection, we sure need resilience. You know, if of all arenas in life, you know, this is where we need to be really truly there for ourselves, in the face of what gets thrown out of the news every day. You know, the bad news, the constant despair that is very easy to feel. So definitely something we need in this area. So we increase our inner resilience in two ways. First of all, we grow the ability to really manage and move through and soothe ourselves when we're struggling with difficult emotions. And the other side of this is that we buoy ourselves up and we actually create a happier inner landscape. We work on that. And one of the practices we'll do in a minute is all about that. It's called taking in the good. That'll be the first practice we do. So we're thinking about these two sides of self-compassion, the soft, nurturing, soothing, yes, it's difficult and you're going to be okay type. And the other side, which is more, I'm going to build myself up. I'm going to change the way I think. And I'm going to work on my patterns of thought so that it's easier for me to feel good. It becomes a habit, it becomes a trait. So this first practice called Taking in the Good, there's a link we're going to give you, and Rick Hanson, who's a psychologist, explains it beautifully in a YouTube clip, so you can learn more about it there. But what we're doing is we're nurturing positive internal states by paying attention in a particular way, using mindfulness and the other elements I've described, to grow this sort of positive bedrock in our minds, as it were. And to say a little bit more about the neuroscience, because this is something that really motivates me, is I love the ancient wisdom techniques, mindfulness, meditation, but I really love also the modern science, the neuroscience that tells us how this actually works. This practice works. They see the brain and they can see how it changes the structure of the brain when we pay attention and we practice in such a way. So there's a saying that is, neurons that fire together wire together. You may have heard that. And what that's saying is that when we practice certain types of thoughts, and in this case we practice very positive thoughts, good experience, and particularly when we bring in all the senses, the somatic felt senses into that experience, we create really strong pathways in the mind that make us more predisposed to go down that path. So we're creating good positive pathways in the mind, then it's easy for us to fall into a good mood, to fall into a good place more often. And the key here is when you've got a positive experience, you hold it there, and we'll do that in a minute, 10, 20, 30 seconds. That's all it needs to go from just a short-term memory to down into the deep long-term memory banks in the brain. And there it becomes this trait, this thing that we hardly have to think about. It's there for us more often. So good habits of thinking become traits, become personality. That's how we make changes for ourselves, and our personality creates the life that we experience. And there's a great neuroscientist called Richard Davidson. I haven't put the link on, but there's just a quote from him. He's one of the original neuroscientists that brought back these practices from the East way back in the 60s. And he's been working and studying mindfulness techniques ever since. So he's really got a lot of answers for us. And he's saying here that our brains are constantly being shaped, wittingly or unwittingly. Most of the time, our brains are being shaped unwittingly. So we're not really paying attention to how they're being shaped. And we've got the opportunity to take more responsibility for the intentional shaping of our minds. And through that, we can shape our brains in ways that would enable, he says, 4 fundamental constituents of well-being. So the mind, another quote from Rick Hansen, is that our minds are like Teflon for the positive and Velcros for the negative. Yeah. We tend to cling to the negative. Yeah. And you know, you can imagine you're on these calls on the volunteer and get out the vote calls, and you'll have, I don't know, 10, 15 calls, and most of them will be positive, and people will be, yeah, thanks for calling, really good to hear from you, I'll be out. And you'll get one where someone's a bit short or not really into it, a bit dismissive, and that leaves you a bit flat. Yeah, what have I done wrong? And you start thinking, and when you go home, which is the call you'll remember? It's going to be that one, isn't it? It's going to be the one that wasn't so good. And the thing is with this is that that's how our minds are designed, and it's an evolutionary thing. It's actually a survival thing. And I use the little story of the 2 ancient Stone Age men, you know, out there on the prairies in Africa, and one of them is sort of lying around, you know, having a smoke, looking at the sky, chilling out, not a worry in the world, totally oblivious to the lion behind him in the bushes who's looking for lunch. And then the other one is, you know, sitting on a rock, ready to go, alert, listening, watching for danger. Yeah, spear in his hand. You know, out of those two, which one's going to become the ancestor to us? It's going to be the more careful one, isn't it? It's going to be the anxious one, the one that's always looking out for danger. So in that respect, you know, we have something called this negativity bias. That's why we have it. It's something we needed to survive years ago. And we don't need that to survive today, because we've created a world where we don't need to worry too much about lions and tigers. But we still have a brain. The architecture of the brain that we've inherited is the same, worry brain. And that's why we tend to look at the negative. We tend to see the negative. And so what we've done is we've taken this brain and we've started to look inwards on our self-concept. How I'm doing, how am I doing as a person? How am I doing at work? How well do I do? How well do I stack up? Am I liked? Am I acceptable, etc.? It's all about fear, but towards our self-concept rather than actual physical survival. And it's, you know, in this today's world with so much pressure and so much expectation on ourselves, you know, in work and performance and schools and colleges, it's the same with our systems. There's a lot of stress, yeah, and it's kind of unnecessary. So the thing is that, you know, we don't need to feel bad that we've got a negativity bias, and at the same time we need to work to change it. We need to put some effort in, and as ancient wisdom traditions tell us and modern neuroscience tells us, this is how we change the makeup of our minds. This is how we change this trait that's been like it for millions of years in the human brain. Yeah. So it's really big stuff, and you know, it's becoming more and more known throughout our society. But it's great to know how it works, that it works and it can be seen to be working. So take a breath. Are there any questions right now before we go into this little exercise called taking in the good? No? No? You're still with me? Great. Okay. Shall we do it?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So just take a breath and welcome someone who's joined us. Just in time for an exercise practice. So taking a breath, and if you want your eyes closed, that's great. If you like your eyes partially open, just looking down. Quietening it all down, coming from all those thoughts and listening and thinking about what I've been saying. And just maybe just checking in with the breath. Just your natural breath, just connecting with it. And noticing it for a couple of moments. And then I'd like you to bring to mind a situation that's happened to you maybe recently, just something that comes to mind, where you've had a really good interaction with someone. It's been, if you can't think of something, just it's fine to make it up, but it's a great meeting or chat where someone's been really pleased to see you or receive what you've been offering, really supportive and giving you a pat on the back and thanks and showing their gratitude and, you know, really supporting you there. And you felt really good about it. And if you can now, just make this scene as real as possible. So, as clearly as you can, bringing to mind where you were, who you were with, what that person looked like or sounded like. It may have been on the phone. And remember how you felt and what You may have thought to yourself, thoughts like, oh, that was so nice. It's really made my day, that. It makes it really worthwhile when I get that kind of comment from people. And just, if you can, noting the emotion, whatever you'd call it, maybe uplifted or encouraged or light or happy or confident. And see if you can connect to the felt sense of that emotion. So where do you feel it in the body? You might feel it in your chest area. There might be some tingling or some sensation there. Or in the throat or the belly or something. Just checking in and seeing if you can really turn this up in intensity. And feel it and be with it. 10 seconds. And stay with it. And keep it there for 20 seconds. And again, keep going back to it. How good that feels and where you feel that in the body. And know that 30 seconds is all your brain needs to download that into your body and make that a really rich habit. Make it something you can fall back on. It's changing your brain. And then just allowing this scenario to go, to fade away, and coming back to us, opening your eyes, taking a breath, so just letting that settle for a moment and knowing that we took a few minutes, but this can be done in a minute. As long as you get those 10, 20, 30 seconds of real imagining and being with that, you are causing a change in your mind. And I don't know if does anyone want to share anything about that? To say anything at all? How that was? I'd be curious to know.
Yeah, sure. I was thinking about a reference email that I got that, yeah, someone just sort of sent on my behalf to introduce me to someone else that I wanted to get involved with. And I thought they were just going to, like send me that person's email, but they actually like wrote a little thing and be like, oh, this is Ria, and like she did this, this, and this, and this, and she has, this degree, and like said all these like nice things about me, and was like, and yeah, it just felt really affirming, and I like that practice of, yeah, at the time I was like, yeah, you know what, I did do all those things, and maybe I'm not, an imposter.
Yeah.
So I needed that. Thanks.
Great. Thank you. It sounds like it was energizing for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that you tapped into those feelings that it gave you at the time, and it actually gave you energy right there and then doing the practice. Oh, fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, for me, it's just, yeah, it's shocking. It was shocking how much you can emulate those feelings that you received at the time that you had them when you do just intentionally sit and try and remember. It surprises me every time I do exercises like this that it does just wash over you in a way. So yeah, great. I loved it.
Thank you. Yeah, it's amazing how the brain, you know, even if we're just remembering, or even if we're making it up, actually, the brain is taking in the information. And when we're allowing ourselves to feel it, to feel the sensations, that's where it goes deep. That's where we're actually sucking it in. So paying attention and grabbing those opportunities, like that lovely email, and using it again and again, you know, it's fantastic practice for building this inner resilience, this inner source, if you like, inner resources. Great. So I'll move on then, and we'll do the second practice, which is called a self-compassion break. And this practice is another informal practice on the mindful self-compassion training. And one we can use, again, it will take us maybe 5 minutes, maybe 6-7 minutes, but again, we can do it in a minute. If we have a phone call, you're on those calls and it's tough and you get a tough one, or in any situation where you get your buttons pushed. This is a way where we're using the more yin side of the self-compassion to hear us, to acknowledge ourselves and to soothe and nurture ourselves when things are difficult. Instead of running, we can be with these difficult emotions. So again, let's quiet down again, close the eyes or have them partially open. And again, just contacting the breath for a few moments, just to come in and bring the attention inward. And this time bringing to mind a situation in your life which is difficult for you right now. Now this could be an ongoing thing, or it could be, again, an interaction that you've had which was a bit painful, which was not nice. Don't make it something really traumatic, because we're training here. This is how we train. Like in the gym, we take it easy. Use the small weights first. But make it something impactful enough so you actually get a sense of discomfort in your body. And this is what we need to work with. So imagining again what happened, where you were, who was there, who said what, who did what you did. As clearly as you can. And really importantly for this, see if you can actually connect and feel again those feelings in the body that came up for you. You might have thoughts, you might remember thoughts, you might remember feeling an emotion like, oh, I felt embarrassed, or I felt hurt or confused or something. Maybe inadequate, but just see if you can also contact how it feels. What is it inside that's letting you know you're feeling this? And this might, again, it might be in the chest or the throat area or in your gut, in your belly. As best you can, see if you can contact that. And then, as a first step, then you might want to place a hand there on that area, or you may even just want to place a hand on the heart area, just to feel that contact with yourself. And as a way of acknowledging this, just think of some words that feel right for you to acknowledge that this is difficult. You might just say, ouch, or that hurts, or this is difficult right now, or I'm struggling, or this is stressy. So letting ourselves know we're noticing. And then the next step is to remember that common humanity aspect and just saying to yourself quietly, this is what it's like to struggle in this way. This is what it feels like when we feel X or Y, whatever it is. I'm not alone. There's millions and millions of people out there probably feeling exactly what I'm feeling right now. I'm not alone with this. This is just what it is to be human. It's not me. It's not just about me. And then offering yourself some words, offering yourself some good wishes. Maybe something like, may I be kind to myself right now. May I feel happy. Or may I accept myself just as I am right this moment. There's something that feels natural for you to say. And if that's tricky, you may imagine yourself with that friend or loved one who is struggling. And go back to what you'd say to them. What would those words be? And seeing if you can offer that to yourself right now. And if you have your hand on your heart, you may just feel that support coming through your own hand. Let yourself be supported. That's just giving into that. Then just allowing the practice to go. And coming back, opening the eyes, taking a breath. Back into the room. So again, just letting that short practice settle, and I'm curious if there's anything anyone wants to say about that one. No pressure. Okay. So that's mindful self-compassion, 2 practices. Again, both of them you can use whenever you feel you'd like to. The more you use it, the better. They say with this particular training, if you do something like this half an hour a day, you're going to really reap the benefits. So I'd encourage you to take it as a personal resource. And when you're doing the phone work, use it as much as you can. Don't let good interactions pass you by. And if they're difficult, maybe just use this this little self-compassion break for a minute or so. Take care. So, thank you so much for letting me come on here and share this with you. I'd really, hope I can be down with you practicing on Douglas Street at the offices. And I guess I just want to ask if there are any questions or comments that anyone wants to make before we close.
Just thanks, Cis, for this offering, and I think this is useful. And I look forward to seeing you on Tuesday. I think, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much.
This will be really nice for our volunteers.
Yeah. Great. I'm glad to hear it, Rhea. Thank you. Great.
Yeah, this was wonderful, Cece. I had access to your script and all that jazz, but I really felt supported by listening to your words, and the practices really resonated with me. And yeah, thank you so much for all the preparation you did for this. It was wonderful.
Yeah, you're really welcome. My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you. So yeah, I'll hand over to you, Carly. You're going to put a link on about any feedback at all from anyone.
Right.
Be very, very pleased to get it. Yeah.
Great. Yes. Thank you so much, Cece. I'm going to put a link into the chat here for a quick survey to SurveyMonkey. It's really quick. It'll take like 3 minutes. And even if those of you who are watching this as a recording are interested in using that link, I think I will be able to put a link to it in the YouTube when this recording is available. So please don't be shy there. And just a reminder, as Rhea said and Cece, we're going to be in the office doing in-person mindfulness training sessions Tuesdays and Thursdays for the next 2 weeks. And so the dates for those are the 8th, the 10th, the 15th, and the 17th, as well as we're going to be on here again a week from now, 5 o'clock. We'll be doing one more of these online webinars. So if you missed the first one, hopefully you can join us live for the second one and interact with us. And thank you everybody for watching. I think we're going to wrap it up here, unless I've forgotten anything, Cece.
I don't think so. No, thank you. Thanks, Carly.
Okay. Well, thanks everyone for being
great.
on the call.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye for now.
Bye.